Hi everyone, Dana here. Today I'm going to tell you about one of the worst days that I had working in a game store in Boston.
チャンネル登録よろしくね。
So to give you some background information, so I lived in Boston for about 5 years and I worked a bunch of different part-time jobs and full-time jobs while I was going to school. So when I was getting my master's degree in Boston, I was working part-time at the university and I also got a job working part-time at a GameStop. So coming from a very rural area of Maine, it was a totally different kind of environment. It was in the city and there was a lot of crime that happened around there. For example, one time I was walking to work and in that shopping plaza where the game store was, there was a crime scene, you know, with the caution tape up and the cops talking to people and whatever, and there was just a big puddle of blood on the ground. I still don't know what happened, but yeah, that's just one example of the things that I would see in that area. Anyways, so to get to the story, so one of the things that we did was buy used video games and video game consoles and accessories from people. On this day, a young woman came into the store. I shouldn't say woman, she was a girl. She wasn't 18 yet. And she had an Xbox, an old Xbox. I think the original Xbox. So she came into the store and she wanted to sell it to us. So, you know, I told her, okay, let me check in the system. And we could buy it for, I believe it was around $8. And so she wanted to do it. She wanted that money for whatever reason. In Massachusetts, when you sell something like a video game to a store, the store is required to get an ID from you and save the information into the system in case that item is reported stolen. Of course, I had to get ID, but she didn't have any, which makes sense because she didn't look that old. I don't think that she was old enough to have an ID. So she got mad and she left. And a little while later, she came back into the store and she had an old lady with her. And I could just tell immediately that the lady did not know the girl. It was obvious just by the you know, their body language and how they weren't really interacting. So anyway, she came back up and she said, okay, you know, she has an ID, so can you do it in her name? And at this point I was a little bit irritated because she had been so rude to me, and just so I was like to the old lady, I was like, do you know her? And she said no. And I was like, okay, well, you can't give your ID for the item that she's selling because it's gonna be in your name. Like, we are not allowed to do that because, you know, then if the police come and ask us about it, we don't actually have the right person in our system, you know? It's okay if they're connected somehow, like you know, a brother or a mom or something. But if it's a complete stranger, we can't do that. So I told her, look, you guys don't know each other. I can't take it in. And at this point, the older lady just left. And this girl just loses her shit. She freaks out, you know, like snaps. She pushed all of the things on the countertop just like at me. You know, the cash register and the displays and everything, just shoved it at me. And then there was like a big display with a glass top that had like video game figurines and things. And she pushed it over, and it was really heavy. Like, if it had hit a child or something, someone would have definitely gotten injured. But thankfully nobody was standing there. But she shoved it over and the glass broke, and she stormed out of the store, and she still was holding the Xbox, and she just chucked it across the parking lot. And it was very dramatic. Everyone else in the store was like, what the hell just happened? And the security guard for the shopping center, we flagged him down, you know, to help, and he decided to just chase after the girl. And so he ended up catching her, and the cops came and I suppose they arrested her. I didn't actually see any of this happening. This was wherever they ended up catching her, where she had run off. And then the security guard came back, and I think it was him that told us that the girl was a missing person. And at first I remember thinking, like, what the hell? How is that possible? Because when I think of a missing person, right? Like I always think of like someone who's been kidnapped. So I remember thinking something was just very strange about this whole thing. And I kind of put the pieces together, and I have no way of knowing if this is true or not, but my assumption is that this girl had some issues with her parents. For example, maybe she was gay and they weren't happy about that kind of thing. And so she ran away and she needed money. So she tried to sell the Xbox to survive. That's just my assumption. And after I realized that that might have been what happened, I felt bad. Like obviously she had been very rude to me and she had a temper problem. But, I also felt bad that, maybe she was in a shitty situation and she needed money. And like I just felt bad for her and, hope that her life is better. So obviously this is one of the kind of most shocking experiences I had working in customer service, but I had a lot more. I have many more stories that I could tell, and it's a pretty normal kind of experience in America. So yeah, I could maybe have story time again. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!
チャンネル登録よろしくね。